I'm sure you guys would have access to Jupyter Notebook. Can I have some yes and no's on the chat window? Because this will be an interactive session. So I think what I'm deciding is we're going to be talking about, let's say, first 15 minutes. We'll be talking about a bit of grammar, okay, for all these grammar elements for visualization. And after that, I will be talking to you about a couple of libraries. So obviously, one thing is in the R. We can definitely try this thing with the R also. But today I want to focus more on the Python. You can exactly use similar principles on the R. In fact, what we're going to do is we will be using similar principles of R and we'll try and apply them in Python. In Python, we'll be mainly covering a package called Plot9. Have any one of you has heard Plot9? Have any one of you used it? Has any one of you heard a package in? No? Okay, none of you has. Okay. Sure. So I'm getting, I think mostly none of you guys have heard about this new package which is there with the name Plot9. Have any one of you heard another package in Python which is with the name Plotly? Okay, so some, okay, some, so, and have you heard about Plotly Express? No. Okay. Cool. So most of you are saying you haven't heard about the Plotly Express. Sure. So thing is, I will be talking to you guys more about these, and they're pretty important packages. Okay. I'm sure you all would have learned Python. You all would have done the courses on Python, and you all would have been familiar with the Matplotlib and the Seaborn. Is that right? You all guys would be knowing about the Matplotlib and Seaborn. Okay. Okay. Sure. I'm still getting some no's. But that's okay. There's no prerequisite of knowing these things, because the thing is we want to start this new venture of understanding this new grammar on the whole basically the elements of visualization. So without wasting more time, let me just start with this whole grammar. And what I'm doing is basically I will be using one block in between, but what we'll do is I will be so let me just give you a quick walkthrough of these things. Okay, and I want it to be more interactive. So if you have any questions, you can just ping me. Okay, I think one comment I have got is this course about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I would say this course is more important than these two things, artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's because it's about how you represent your data in a way that your user and basically you yourself can understand. Okay, it's about the data visualization. Okay, and basically what are key components of data visualization? The thing is, I think there are a lot of talks that keeps going on. Okay, their data, because even if you talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, the basic ingredient of each and everything is about data. I think you would have heard this quote: the data is the oil, data is everything. If you have the data, you will be competitive. You're gonna be, you have basically super awesome. Okay, you all would have heard this thing a lot. So this thing is like, if you have data, how you gonna represent the data in a way that it makes sense? Okay, this is where basically we're gonna be talking today, and this becomes very, very important. So thing is, so let me start with a quick history, and let me just open my Excel. Just a minute. Okay, guys. So I don't have my basically digital pen with me right now because of this COVID. But just bear with me, and if you don't understand anything, let me know. But what I'm going to do is right at the start. I think first 10 minutes. Just allow me first 10 minutes to explain you a couple of basics about the whole uh, elements of visualization, and then we'll be jumping onto some of these libraries, and we will try and see how these libraries can actually change the way we kind of present our data. How it's going to benefit you is basically in any of the job, or if you have basically if you have the data, the first thing, it doesn't matter what experience you had, what hierarchy you are into the system. The thing is, you always want to gain insights from the data. Okay, and this is where basically you need to have these skills, which are pretty important for each one of us to understand that how you guys will be analyzing the data in a way that makes more sense to the user. Okay, I think sure. So let's start. So
Hi,
any
Prakash.
thoughts? What? Hello.
Yeah, hello, Prakash sir. I just want to ask
Mm-hmm.
one thing. actually I am a new student for IB and I have only done the first class of Excel. So will this course means I am not getting anything that you are saying means from the starting it seems before some classes have been held for this or something because I am not getting you anything means what is this class, how, why are we doing this class, what means kind of thing means what is data visualization and all. I don't know anything. So will this course, if I learn this from you now, will it help me now or any other courses I have to do before to understand this?
Okay. No, so you don't need to. So don't worry if you don't have any experience. Basically, what basic experience I want from you is to run Jupyter Notebook, and I think it's pretty easy. Like, do you know how to run Jupyter Notebook for Python?
No, I haven't learned Python also. I have just joined the course and I have done only Excel of first class.
Okay.
And
Sure. I
I
think I
actually
would
I am not just
say. Sure, I think doesn't matter. I would still say that because I won't be teaching you how to run Jupyter Notebook and all. Probably you can just do see a 5 minutes video over the YouTube, okay? And because I think it's pretty straight, pretty simple, you can easily kind of start running it, okay, at your site. The only thing is like I don't have the Windows. So even if I can tell you, if I kind of tell you that how to run Jupyter Notebook, it won't make sense to you because if you have the Windows laptop, I think a couple of things are very different. But I would say if it's about if the question is about whether you should be staying in this class if you have no knowledge, I would still recommend you to stay in this class because even if you don't know the Python and let's say if you I would say if you just spend while I'm talking the theory part, if you just spend 5 minutes and you start your Jupyter Notebook, it's pretty easy. You can just Google it out, okay? I think you will be in a much better place to do more that interactive section with me, okay? Because there will be a couple of good learnings that you're gonna have.
okay, thank you.
Sure. I think you can use PyCharm. You can. The only thing is, we will be writing some codes. I will be sharing these codes also with you guys. Okay, because I want it to be more interactive session. And once you kind of start running this, you also start getting the feeling that how the data can be presented. Okay, so what are the challenges which we can solve? And what I'm gonna do is, I'm actually gonna talk about some basic theory at the start, and then I'm going to follow through a blog, and I will also share the link of that blog later on. I definitely recommend you guys to go through that blog yourself because obviously we have kind of lost 25 minutes. Okay, so I really doubt this whole thing can be covered in this another 1.5 hour or so. But thing is, let's see how much we can cover. And if you have any more questions, they're always welcome. You can put it over the email ID, or you can just ask just to Ivy Pro, basically, guys, and they can get in touch with me and I can definitely help you guys. Okay, so now without wasting more time, let's just start. Okay, so I think the very first thing I will have for you, question I will have for you guys is, because we're talking about the data visualization, like any thoughts, like what do you think is the data visualization? Any thoughts from you guys? What do you understand by the data visualization?
So if we have a list of data, then how can we present it in the most efficient way so that others are able to get some understanding from the data, from whatever visualization is done?
Correct. Yeah. So it's basically it's how you can represent number in more meaningful way, in an insightful way, so that it tells a story. Okay. But if you just look at the components of a data visualization, basically it's a combination of two important things. One is your design. Okay, how you gonna design your whole. Okay, so I'm getting some more answers. Presenting data graphically without loss of information. Okay, it's kind of dashboard. Okay, you're talking graphical representation of data. Yeah, definitely. Correct. So all of these are correct answers. But if you just try and break it into a smaller part, it's actually intersection of these two things. It's actually intersection of your statistics, okay, where you will be having the descriptive and inferential statistics both, and it can be it is also a combination design, okay. So what happens is when you guys kind of learn this whole AI, NML, machine learning, all these courses, I'm sure you guys get a good understanding of the statistics part, but inherently unless you are quite creative you kind of tend to miss this design part. Okay, this is also very important. So like if you look at like other profiles like architecture, okay, and a lot of other profiles like the UI UX designer, these people are also become quite creative. This is at times I've seen one angle quite missing in the data scientist role. Okay, then kind of people kind of learn it because they think the coding is basically coding makes us god. Okay, but there's nothing like that. You also need to understand a couple of new aspects, new elements also into basically your learning, so that once you understand them, you also becomes better. So this is where I'm going to talk about the whole data visualization today. It's actually intersection between your design and the statistics. So if you want me to put it, so I will be putting it basically somewhere in this intersection part. Okay. So if I just put this also in the front. Okay. So I think this intersection will be the, if you want. So let me just have any shape, any shape. Okay. So I'm just putting it under. So this intersection is your actually the data visualization part. Okay. So this is your intersection here. Okay. So here comes the data visualization. So let me just color it up. So this is from the data visualization. Okay. So now comes the second question. So as a data scientist, like what do you do? Okay. So what happens is, I'm just copying this chart. What happens is, so let's say you have a role of scientist here. So just try and understand because this is pretty important. This is although very basic. So let's say you are a scientist here. Okay. You are a data scientist. Is this EI demo class? No, it's not a demo class. I will be telling you a lot of about data visualization elements. Okay, and basically I will be sharing with you a couple of, yeah, I will be sharing with you guys a couple of important links so that you can also kind of walk yourself through those things, and they're pretty good. Okay, they're very recent. They're state of the art libraries, which I would say you must learn because I'm sure you guys would be learning about Matplotlib, Seaborn. But if you see like when these libraries got created, okay, and they kind of follow some traditional syntax. So if you kind of try and shift it towards something else, that's how it's gonna be a different one. So this is what the data scientist his role is, and what happens here is basically there are two things. A data scientist either has to, sorry, okay, let me just take one pen. Okay, so there can be two roles a data scientist need to play. So whenever he is having the data, one thing is the data needs to be explained. Okay, and another way is data needs to be explored. So these two are very important part. Whenever you have data, you will be doing any one of these two. Either you will be looking at the data and then you try and explain reasoning around it. That means if you have some hypothesis, okay, so this here you will be doing a lot of inferential and a lot of descriptive analytics. Okay, you will be trying and understanding the data, you will be showing it to your readers. But here you what you will do is basically you will be kind of exploring your data. Okay, and here again you will try and look at your data. At times you try and put a lot of visualizations around here. Have you guys heard about this line? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Have you heard about this? No. So this is one very popular line in the whole data thing. Can you tell me why this line is? What is the uniqueness about this line? What is this distinctive feature about this line? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy. Yeah, correct. Yeah, perfect, Anirban. So it includes all the alphabets. So I think this is one perfect sentence where you will find all the alphabets, and that's where like whenever a lot of trainings are being done, you'll find most of the times the trainer are kind of using this particular line. Okay. So if you talk about data visualization, okay, and if you really want to understand deeper, so in 1999, there's a guy with the name Leland Wilkinson. Okay, so if you just go on your Google and you kind of type Leland, sorry, okay, so you will find a very good book from him, which is quite popular, The Grammar of Graphics. Okay, so this is the book that I'm talking about. So if you guys really want to go deeper, I would really recommend you guys to go through this book. You can see there's a preview on the Google is also available. This actually talks about very in detail about all the elements that a grammar needs to have. Okay, so we'll definitely ask you guys if you can get through this book. Okay, so obviously then you will find a lot of changes in the way you think. Okay, so this is one of the quite popular, most amazing book that has ever been put up around the grammar of visualization. So very important and very like in structured way. This Leland guy has kind of put all the different stuff. Okay, now what next? We talked about basically the father. You can say him the father of the grammar, basically of data visualization. Okay, now let's talk about the elements of grammar for graphics. Cool. So any idea have any one of you heard about ggplot2? Have any one of you tried ggplot2 in R? Okay, Anirban says yes. Nushrab also says Swami. Okay, so how many layers? So because I think if you're all that's pretty good. And guys who have tried the ggplot2 in R, have you also tried this something similar in Python ever? Okay, Rumpa says no. What about Anushraba? You tried it in R, but have you tried it in Python? Milan also says no. Background in Python. Oh, I did not get that. No, not in Python. No, sir. Okay. So you're saying like most of you guys haven't tried in the Python. But thing is, so I tell you like, had we been having this webinar a year before, I would have been only telling you guys about R. Okay, if you want to talk about ggplot2. But fortunately, we this is 2020, which is obviously not that good year till now so far. But again, the good part is in terms of research, it never stopped. Okay, so what used to happen is in like till last year, the ggplot2 was being developed. Uh, okay, you have Hadley Wickham. I just forgot the name of the guy. Yeah, so this is like what, so if you guys really want to follow someone on Twitter, I will really recommend you guys to follow this guy, because this guy was the inventor of the whole ggplot2 and a lot of other stuff in R. Okay, so if you really want to follow, you can follow this guy. Can you sir bigger your screen? Okay, is it better now? Just a minute. Is it better now? Okay, sure. So if you really want to follow someone in terms of in your Twitter, I would really recommend the name of this guy, Hadley Wickham. Okay, he is basically the inventor of lot many things, I would say, but he is kind of doing all the major advancement in R. And I'm sure whenever you guys are learning R and Python, you will be hearing the back-to-back fight of R and Python, that who is gonna be winning. So if you talk about R, definitely that this guy is doing a lot of developments in R, and because of it, like R is right now is still in that state of art level that where the Python is. Obviously, now more users are shifting towards Python. But if you still talk about a lot of researchers, people still are using R there, because in terms of pure mathematical models and algorithms, they are pretty rich in R. While if you talk about the development and the front end part, the people are kind of using Python there. Thing is, today we want to actually end both of these. The good thing is, like, we are in 2020, and today we don't need to rely on R or for to use. Basically, if you want to go for ggplot, we can use all these similar concepts in Python also. Okay, exactly same way, exactly same. Okay, so the way we're gonna be learning it in our Python today, exactly same we can actually do stuff in R. Okay, it won't be changed, it won't be different one. So that's the beauty today, and that's why basically I want to talk to you guys about these whole elements of grammar for graphics. Cool. So I think some of you have said that you have already kind of worked on the uh, ggplot2. Can you tell me how many different elements are there in ggplot2? Any idea, any thoughts? How many different elements or layers have you tried? How many layers and elements have you tried? Data aesthetics. Okay, that's two. There are two layers which you're talking about. What else? Geometry. Okay. Data aesthetics, geometry. Yeah. What else? No, label is not an element. Cool. So there are 7 elements. Okay. So as per the grammar of graphics or visualization, there's 7 different elements. Okay. There are total 7 grammatical elements in this theory. So let's try and understand what are these. Okay. The first one is your data, and this is very important. Okay. So what is data? Anything which you are interested in. Okay. Data that needs to be plotted. Okay, I'm sure you guys would have been, and it can be in Excel also. Okay, it can be in R. You can plot into R, you can plot it into Python, anywhere, or maybe Ruby. Okay, or maybe let's say your Swift. It can be any language, maybe C, Python, Java, Go, all these languages. The second is, as perfectly mentioned by Milan, aesthetics. Okay, second layer is aesthetics. So what is aesthetics? Any thoughts? What is aesthetics? X-axis. Correct. Perfect. So Milan is saying X and Y axis. Perfect. So whenever you are plotting something, okay, you want some axis, you want some scale, okay, on which scale you're gonna be putting it up. So that is what's known as aesthetics. Okay. So just bear with me if some of these terms are not quite understandable to you. But I think let me just go through the theory part and then we're gonna jump on the hands-on practice. I think you guys will be able to understand it very quickly. Okay. Yeah. So aesthetic means basically your scales onto which you will plot the data. What is the third one? The third one is your geometry. Okay, so geometry is your visual element used in data. Okay, so I'm sure you guys would be using these 3 layers a lot in your ggplot. Okay, what is the fourth one? Any thoughts? Fourth one is your theme. Okay, and at times themes become pretty important. You can also customize your theme, because what happens is, let's say you create some graph, but if you're working for a company, that company already has its own branding. Okay, they have their logo color, their website color, their presentation should be in some particular color. So what happens is, you need to create these charts also into that particular colors. Okay, and for that you need to have some themes being identified, or you can custom create your own theme. This is where this also becomes very, very important. So there are already like quite free themes out there, and apart from that, you can also use some of the custom themes. So this is where basically all I would say no in data part. There is no data here, you're only using these themes. Okay, what next? After this comes your statistics. So this statistics is again becomes very important layer for you guys. Okay, what happens here is, what is statistics? Why we need to have the statistics layer? We need statistics layer so that we can represent our data and understand it. Okay, data. Okay, sure. So idea is basically, let's say if you're using geom bar, okay, and basically let's say you use stat count. So a couple of these functions are already using the statistics in inbuilt, okay. They're already inbuilt into those functions, but at times you have to explicitly use all these functions, and this is where it becomes very, very important. Okay. After this comes coordinates. Any thoughts why we need coordinates? Yeah, the stat equal to entity. Perfect, Milan. So it's basically the space on which you're plotting your data. Okay, this is where it becomes very important. And the last one is your facets. Any thoughts what facets are? Facets are? What is faucets? Perfect. So basically you break your things into different layers. So these are the 7 important elements of your visualization. Okay. Sir is a first class because we are
Sir,
just here for the
hello.
demo and not able to understand. Hello.
Hello, sir. Can you explain once the theme and facets? Theme and faces,
Yes, yes.
the concept is not clear for me.
Sure, sure. I think just hold on for some time. We'll be doing experiment on each of these layer. Okay. We'll be writing code and then we'll be understanding it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay.
just no worries. Even if you guys are having this as first class, it should not be a worry to you. Okay. Just bear with me. I just want to start with some basic concept because later on when you're gonna jump into the hands-on exercise, okay, I think we will have some reference around this. Otherwise, what's gonna happen is we're gonna lose everything. Hmm? So, okay, let me just give you an example of themes and faucets. So let's say I have some data points X and Y. You have X, you have Y. Okay. Okay, let's say I have these two data points. I want to plot one. So this is my plot. Okay. So this is, so at this level, I have already covered two things. So data, this is my data. I know this is my data point. When I'm talking about aesthetics, X and Y, and basically these color, blue color, this becomes my aesthetics. Okay. When I'm talking about geometry, geometry is basically, this is your geometry part. Okay. When I go insert, these all are geometry. Okay. I can have a bar chart from here. I can have a tree map, sunburst. Okay. I can have all these. So this is known as your geometry. This particular section is your geometry. Okay. Theme. If I click here and choose chart design, do you see what all these? These are themes. If I click here, this becomes into something different. This is theme. Okay, same thing you can do with the code also. So this is your theme, and you can customize also. Okay, I can just delete it if I don't want this title. I can delete it. I can delete something. I can delete these lines. Okay, this is my theme. How I want to put my whole representation. Okay, I can just put it into different color. So this is known as your theme. After theme, it talks about statistics. Okay, so you can also put your statistics here. How you can put some statistics here? Let's say if I put here on this chart, I can have a line also. You can actually put a line in between. Okay, so that becomes your statistics. Just a minute. Mhm. Okay, I think I'm not getting it right now. But you can also put a line here, okay? And you can get an equation of that line also. That is known as your statistics, because you can just put a linear regression here. Okay. After that, yeah, I'm talking about the trend line. Correct, Somit. So I'm not just getting it because this thing is not that good in a MacBook. So the trend line is your statistics. Okay. What else? Coordinates. What if basically you want to change your coordinates? You can have it on a log basis. You can put it, let's say, exponential coordinates. So this is known as coordinates. Okay. How can you change your coordinates? So I think for here, if you want to change your coordinates, you can just click here. Okay. Once you have clicked here, you can basically have different functions for them. Okay. You can change basically their all different aspects. After that, the last is faucets. Okay. So what does faucets means? Basically, let's say if I have a category also here, and this is my category A, and then I will be having something similar. Okay. Now let's say if you want to plot it here. So what that so let's say you want these two different plots one in this one single screen. So this is known as basically faucets, where you kind of divide your charts into multiple charts, okay, based on some category or a combination of category. So let's say if you want to put into a faucets, the way it should look is basically in Excel, it's not automated. You have to do it manually. But in code, you can just use faucets and do it. Okay. So let's say I kind of create something similar. Okay. So now you can see there are two charts. So these two charts now are known as faucets. Right now we have to do it manually in Excel, but in code, basically in you while we are using R and Python, this can be automatically done. Okay, so these are the concepts of basically 7 grammatical elements. Okay, I will just take another 5 minutes, and basically I want to also explain, let's say, jargons about. Okay, and you can also note it down because this is going to be very important. If you can understand this concept, later on you will have zero trouble in making any kind of graph. Okay, I will show you like what all things you can create. Okay, so we'll be doing some googling. I will show you some magic, and you will be I'm surprised at how easily all these charts can be made. Okay, and it's just using all these principles which we are just now reading. Okay, so let's say the very first thing is data, and for data we know basically that it's a variable of interest for us. Apart from data, the next is aesthetics. So in aesthetics, there are a lot of elements that comes. Okay, so let me just write them here. It can be x-axis, y-axis. It can be color. It can be fill. It can be size. It can be labels. Okay, as rightly mentioned by I think Milan. Okay. Apart from that, it can also be alpha. Okay, it can also be shape. It can be line width. It can be line type. Okay, so all these variables are available under aesthetics. You can just play with these variables and you can like bring magic into your basically the visualization. When you talk about geometric, okay, what all elements comes into geometric is basically point, then line, okay, histogram. After that, it comes your bar plot, sorry, box plot. Perfect. Yeah, mostly this. Yeah, the smooth box plot, basically they're all kind of part of line. Okay, because when you use smooth, it's part of your geometry only. but broadly you can classify any kind of diagram into all this. After that comes theme. We just saw a couple of themes in Excel. Similarly, we have like a lot of different themes in Okay, so Jatin, basically you can, even if you have no idea, it's okay. The idea is basically we are talking about the elements of grammar, elements of visualization. Even if it's a first class for you, I think you can just note down these points. It's going to help you later on for any problem where you want to solve and you want to create a graph. Okay, it should not be a worry. So don't worry about that. If you just spend another 1 hour, and if you are able to run your Jupyter notebook, I'm sure like in another 1 hour you will have some good amount of learning. Okay, this should not be a problem. So themes means basically you have all these knowing data. Okay, after that basically you have statistics. In statistics, what you do? You do binning, you do smoothing, you do descriptive, and you do inferential. Okay, so all these things are actually coming under statistics. After that comes your coordinates. In coordinates comes your Cartesian. What is Cartesian? Any thoughts? Have you guys used Cartesian coordinates? Yeah, the x-axis and y-axis. Okay, this is a Cartesian coordinate. This is a Cartesian coordinate. When you have x and y, this is a Cartesian. Okay. After this, you have fixed. Okay, I think fixed and Cartesian are more or less same. Then you have polar. Have you ever used polar coordinates? Any thoughts on polar? What is polar coordinates? Donut chart, sure. So, so which thing is better? Is a pie chart? Do you guys like pie chart? Like, is pie chart and bar chart? Which one is a better representation at times? So let's say if you have a data point, okay, you can create a pie chart on it. You can also create a donut chart on it. So which one you will prefer more? I will find bar better in R. Okay, cool. I think when another thing is, let's say when you have this bar chart. So when you talk about the Cartesian, okay, what happens is, let's say you have this bar chart, okay, and I'm saying stack bar chart. So that means basically you will be having these bar charts of different colors. Okay, and let's say you have this thing. Okay, so let's say you have a bar chart like this and you have some numbers around here. Okay, this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. Can you create a pie chart from here? How will you create a pie chart from this? Any thoughts? Can you create a pie chart from this bar chart?
Sir, we have to convert
Okay,
the small box into percentage. Then we can create the pie chart. As pie chart is total is 360 degrees. So small box, how much percent it is? So
okay,
that
sure.
that is possible. We can create it.
Correct. So that was quite a good answer in terms of being a data scientist, okay, or data analyst. Can you guys creatively tell me how can I create a pie chart from here? Let's say if you have this as a piece of paper, okay, only this area. If you have only this area, this graph as a piece of paper, can you create a pie chart from here? Any creative thoughts? Each part, total part 360. Okay, Rishita is saying something. Each part divided by. Sure, I think let's say you have percentage here only. Don't worry about that. Okay. So let's say you have percentage. This is 5%. Let's say this is 10%, 20%. This is 20%, 40. This is 20%. Let's say, and this is 40%. Okay. You already have something like this. But how will you create a pie chart from? Okay. So if let's say you just have a paper which has this particular part, and we just talked about coordinates. Okay. Polar. Polar means there's only, it's a circle. Okay, this is a polar coordinate. If I have a circle, okay, it doesn't look like a complete circle, but let's say this is a polar. This is using polar coordinates. So what happens is if you join this part, this edge to this. Any thoughts? If you join this to this, what's going to happen? And let me again draw it to you. Yeah, the 100% is 60 degree. So do you guys understand how a pie chart is being made? Okay, so let's say if you just cut this pie chart from here and basically expand it. So what's going to happen? It will convert it into this, correct? Can I assume this? So these two are actually can be interchanged. And what is that one thing that's binding? This is your Cartesian and this is your polar. Okay. So in fact, at times you will hear like in some of the big organizations, people don't like pie chart because pie chart is kind of a derived chart on top of your bar charts. Okay. So you will be hearing these things from like some of the top people who are quite popular in visualization also. But this is the factors. Okay. So at times people prefer bar charts with respect to the pie chart because it's just about the only thing that's the only difference that is there is of the your coordinate. It changes from Cartesian to polar. Okay. And in pie chart, obviously, the another limitation is if you have let's say more than five or six category, it doesn't look good. If you have let's say 7, 8 different categories and you're kind of putting them into a circle, it won't look good. This is another limitation of your pie chart. Cool. So we are done with this. After this, there's again one another thing which is faucets. Okay, when we talk about faucet, it means your columns and rows. Okay, so I think this is it. So this is what is basically this is what we have as a basic theory about your whole visualization. So if you guys understand this well, I'm sure like later on you will not face any challenge in making any of the visualization. Okay, so now let's try and jump on some of the practical exercises. Do you all guys have Jupyter Notebook? Can you guys open? Can you all of you open Jupyter Notebook now? Okay. Is it ready now? Can we start on the Jupyter Notebook? Yeah, I think if you guys like to do it on PyCharm, that's also okay. Whichever way, basically some kind of ID I want you guys to have. Cool. Okay, Rumpa Datta is saying no, I don't have. Okay, you don't have. I think some of do you have R Studio? Some of these things can be done in R also, R Studio also. I think you just need to select the Python module there. Because R also supports Python a bit. I think for guys who don't have Jupyter Notebook, sure, I think Google Colab is also good. You just need a place basically where you can write these codes, okay? So anyway, it is good, should not be a problem. Okay, guys, so let's try and start with the visualization stuff. And before that, let's also see a very important stuff, which is a R cheat sheet. Okay, this is very amazing cheat sheet that is available for ggplot2. So I'm just opening this cheat sheet. Let's see what all we have here. Cool. So we talked a lot. Okay, now let's try and understand these things. Okay, the good thing is it has become your coding agnostic, program agnostic. If you can understand this part, okay, this whole cheat sheet, it doesn't matter whether you are doing it in R or whether you are doing it in Python. You can always create some good visualization. Cool. So some of you guys are asking me to share the link. Here is the link. I share it with everyone. Okay, so I will say you don't need to remember, okay, anything. It just you need to be good with the concepts. Okay, so on the basics part we just saw, yeah, there's a data part, there's a geometric part, there's a coordinate system, okay, and then there's a plot. Okay, very easy. Like if we had been living in like a very old year, you will be using qplot, okay, which is pretty bad, because here you have to remember each and everything. Okay, it's not coming out as a layer. But the good thing is all these 7 elements, they can just work in layer. Okay, so you can just I think, how can we use Python format in R? Okay, I think R Studio supports Python. Okay, if you just open R Studio, I haven't opened because I have like I'm more regular coder in Python now instead of R. But because I saw that R also supports now these days Python. So you just need to install that library ggplot, Gautam. It's pretty simple. Okay, you just need to install the normal way you kind of use it. In a similar way, you can use your ggplot2 library also. Okay, so here you can see I've opened it. I think I haven't used it for a long time. So this you can need to write library ggplot2, and then I think it's gonna be done. And you can see that you can also write Python script here. Okay, that's how it's gonna do something. Okay, so if you kind of explore, you can do it. Normal R script, you can always do ggplot2. Okay, I think you have to first install and you have to just run. Okay, it's pretty simple. But I think today we won't be using R that much. We'll try and use Python. Okay, in fact, in the Python also there's a package called rpy2. If you kind of install that package in your notebook, then you can actually use R also there. So you can interchangeably use R in Python, and basically it doesn't matter basically what you, okay, which language, which platform you're using. The whatever way basically you want, you can just keep doing it. Okay, that's pretty good thing. Cool. So let's jump on our very first problem. So I think a couple of libraries I really want to talk about, and I think let me also give you this story, like what is happening in this whole space. Okay, because this whole data visualization is very, very important. Cool. So some of you are aware of Plotly. Okay. So what happens is initially in R we got ggplot2, and by that same time in Python, okay, uh, yeah, let me tell you a story. Because you should remember the story also. So in R you have this ggplot2, which is pretty brilliant. Okay, and when you talk about Python, sorry, in Python there's this amazing library which has come up with the name Plotly. Okay, and Plotly in combination of Dash. Okay, if you guys know these two things, you can make awesome data apps. Okay, in fact, like a lot of you can also start your own startup. Okay, if you have that entrepreneur skill, and let's say if you know a little bit on hosting side, you can just use a combination of Plotly and data, and you can create a lot of data apps. Okay, which is like kind of much value to any organization. Okay, what happens is, but because our ggplot2 it actually is based on more foundation and people were kind of loving it, even though Python came up, like these Plotly guys actually, they came up with the Plotly and Dash. It became very popular. But if you kind of see the way one needs to write code, it becomes chaotic. Okay, just to plot, let's say one scatter plot, you have to write 50 to let's say 10 to 20 lines of code, which is pretty bad. Okay, you can't just keep writing a code like that. So that's when basically later on they went through the whole concept of R and ggplot. They created another wrapper on top of Plotly with the name Plotly Express. Okay, EXPRESS. And this is where the magic starts. Okay, you can actually use this Plotly Express graphs. They're pretty neat and pretty clean. Okay, I will show you a couple of ways you can write a code. So don't worry if you don't understand anything. I will be sharing some codes with you. You can just just paste those codes into your IDE. Okay, and just keep running it with me. You will see some magic coming on. But this Plotly Express, the way you will see, it follows all basically all the elements of grammar. So you will be seeing how a data is being put, how these different aesthetics is being kind of put here, how these other layers are also kind of built. Okay, this is where it becomes very important. So after Plotly Express, what happens is since last year, there's another guy who has actually come up with another very amazing library with the name Plot9. Okay, this Plot9 is again kind of built up on complete elements of grammar that you have. Okay, and this is what we'll be doing, studying it today in much deep. Okay, and the thing is, you even if you are having R, it doesn't matter. If you don't have Python, if you're on RStudio, it doesn't matter. You can actually copy paste same code, except that one difference that I'm going to tell you, it's going to work. So that's the magic. Okay, it doesn't matter which platform you are into, you can just write one single line of code, except for one very small difference, and then you can run it in R and Python both. Okay, so this is the beauty of this Plotline library. And if you know this library, I'm sure like you will be able to present amazing graphs. Okay, amazing custom graphs. You won't ever find any difficulty as long as you kind of remember all these different elements of your graph. Apart from that, if you also want to understand a couple of more new techniques in this whole area, so apart from Plotly, there's again one more library that has come up with the Streamlit. Okay, so I'm not going to be talking about the Streamlit, but this is again one quite amazing library. I really recommend you guys, if you have time, to go and basically walk yourself through around this, and maybe we can have another session sometime else where basically we'll just talk about Streamlit. The beauty of this is you can create beautiful apps, okay, beautiful web apps, and kind of sell it to like to anyone. So this is where it's going to be very helpful. And so this is a bit story. Now let's try and jump to some real hands-on stuff. Cool. So I'm just closing this R because I won't be using it today. I will be using mainly our. Okay. So do you guys, is my screen visible? So I'm opening my Jupyter Notebook. So basically I'm using this IDE called Visual Studio, and I'm just opening my Jupyter Notebook inside this. Okay. Cool. So just for the simplicity, let me just keep pasting some code for you guys. Okay. Just a minute, guys. Yeah, so I will be sharing this brilliant article also with you. Basically, this guy has brilliantly summarizes, okay, the whole aspects of grammar using this library called Plot9. So I will really recommend you guys to go through it. Okay, so I will be sharing the link of this and by end of this lecture. But if once we go through this, I'm sure like you guys gonna be gonna acquire this new super power of making awesome visualization. Okay, so let's start. Let me just, so what I want you is basically just install this Plotline first. Okay, so let's install Plotline. If you are on the Python 3, so just say pip 3 Okay, so just start with this. If you guys can install this library and let me know once you have done with this. So for me, basically, if I go into my terminal, and if I write this, it's going to start installing that library. Okay, so for me, because I already have that library, I don't need to again install it. But can you guys just install and let me know when you guys are done with that? Okay, so Swami has done. What about others? Swami done, Rohan done. There's 35 people out there. Please, can I have some more answers, guys? Because if you guys don't install it, we won't be able to do it together. It is still working. It should not take that much time. So I have, that means I only two guys are able to install it. Is that correct? Okay. Nabiendu, can you repeat? Rohan, can you guide Nabiendu? What are you using? Are you using Jupyter Notebook, PyCharm? I don't know. So can you tell us what are you doing using? Okay, Nabiendu is using Jupyter Notebook. So can anyone else tell Nabiendu how to install it? Whoever has Jupyter Notebook, can he unmute himself, herself, and just tell that how did he install it? Can he just help others? We'll just spend another 1 minute on this. Okay, Gautam has RStudio. Should not be problem. You open your RStudio, will you can make your graphs in RStudio only. So in your RStudio, just install ggplot2 library. Okay. Please. Okay, so although I'm not got enough yeses, but now I'm assuming most of you guys would have installed it. Okay, because if you're not able to install it till now, I don't think you will be able to do it from here onward. So I'm assuming either you have opened RStudio. Okay, it's okay if you guys have opened RStudio, should not be a problem. And if you guys have opened, so for RStudio guys, I would say, so because one of the data set that we'll be using is your MPG, so that's already being there. Okay, I'm just checking how to use MPG in RStudio. Oh my, this is super slow. Cool. For people who are using R, I'm just pasting this link for those guys. Okay, you can follow a couple of these commands, like you require a ggplot2. Okay, you can just follow a couple of these, and we'll be using similar stuff in Python. Okay, so let's start. Okay, cool. So let's start, guys. I think we anyway have pretty less time. Where's the chat? Just a minute. Where's the chat? Okay, thanks. Cool. So let's try and start with. Okay. So this is what you need to start if you are on Python. Please start with this. In fact, Jupyter Notebook also supports R, so should not be a problem. But I'm just copying pasting this. Okay, what happened? Yes, I'm trying to do that. But somehow. Okay, guys. So can you just paste this command into your Jupyter Notebook? For R people, what they can do is they can rightly just for R guys, just paste this command. Python guys can paste the previous one and let me know when you guys are done with this. Let me also try and repeat that same thing. Is everything with me? Okay, cool. So you have just started, you imported the plot9 and basically a couple of other basic libraries. Pretty good. So let's start basically with the first step. Okay, what's there in the first step? We need to see what data set we have. Okay, so you will be using a data set with the name mpg, and then you can just see what is that. Okay, so when you say question mark, so just understand for Python. Okay, and for R guys, I think R guys can just try this. R guys can try this. Okay, is everyone with me? Cool, awesome. Okay, so do you guys understand your data? Your data has various variables. Okay, it talks about the definition here. It has manufacturer, model, displacement, year, cylinder, number of cylinders that your car has, type of transmission. Okay, front wheel, rear wheel. Okay, four-wheel drive, highway miles per gallon. Okay, HWY is highway miles per gallon. and CTY is city miles per gallon. Okay, this is what your data is. So let's try and plot your very first graph. Okay, what you do is basically you need to, let's start with a plot, a scatter plot. So you will have some X and Y, and what you're going to do is you will be starting with this. Okay, so let's try and see how we are putting it here. Cool. So this command is actually not very much apt. So this particular thing, okay, is actually needed. So I think, let's say if I'm in, the only difference that I need to make when I'm putting a command like this in R versus Python is, if it's in Python, I need to put everything into brackets. Okay, this is one way. So for Python, this is the command, and for R users, the command will be whatever you have inside these brackets. This is a command for R. Okay, can you guys run it? Okay, can you guys run it and see what you're getting? Are you guys getting this similar graph that I've both R guys, Python guys? Okay, so suddenly you will see there is no differentiation between R and Python. The code looks exactly similar. Okay, so this is the beauty of this plotline package. Okay, it doesn't matter. The only thing is you need to be good with the fundamentals. Okay, you need to be good with the theory part here. And if you're good with the theory, it doesn't matter where you are, you can always create these awesome graphs. Like I only get yes from Rohan. What happened to others? There are 30 more people out there. I hope you guys are not sleeping. Okay, Rishita also says done. Cool. Cool. So now let's try and understand what's happening here. Okay. So what's happening here is basically the very first thing, ggplot. Okay, the very first, what was Gautam is saying it's not working. It should work. Did you install library, this ggplot library, Gautam? Okay, I only got 3 done for Python. It should be pretty easy, Gautam. I think I've already shared that link. Even if you follow that link, it should work. Okay, now I hope it's working. Correct. Correct. Sure. So what is happening here? Okay, so this is the very first layer that you can see. ggplot data equal to mpg. This is where you're just saying that you want something to be done on that data. Okay. Okay. Sure. What happens is after that you are doing aesthetics. You are doing the mapping of aesthetics. Okay. And in that aesthetics, what you're doing is you're also putting a geometry. So you're saying that for this aesthetic, you want a geometric point. Okay, let's say if you want line chart between these two, what I can do is I would say geometric smooth. Okay, and if you say so, what you will get is basically something like this. Okay, so you just change geometric point, because geometric point gives you scatter plot. Geometric smooth gives you basically line. Okay, so let's try and see more magics here. So this is the very first chart. Okay, so what you have done is you have created one layer. On top of it, you have tried to create another layer. Correct. Now let me try and add something similar using geometric layer. So what I'm doing is I'm just using another layer on top of what I already have. Okay, and I'm just saying this. Just a minute. Oh, there's so many. So mapping, you need to have one. Yeah. So what do you see now? Yes, correct. Yeah, Rohan. So what's happening is there are two layers. Okay, you have one layer with your scatter plot, which is coming from geometric point, and then on top of it you have plotted another layer. Correct. So what happens is you can just remove this part. Okay, if you just remove this last part and you run, your line is gone. Okay, and this is the beauty. Okay, someone is asking me to zoom in. Just a minute. Just a minute. Let me see view. Command minus. Is it good now? Just a minute. I need to zoom out, guys. Yeah, I'm just pasting the code. Okay. So here's the code for Python users. For our users, they can just add one another same thing. So for I think Gautam is the only guy who's using R. Gautam, you can just say plus geometric, GM smooth, and you can just have the same. Okay. If you just do this much, you will be able to. This is for R. Okay. So I think the key concept here is basically you are plotting things as a layer. Hmm? If you remove this plus part, this layer is this line layer will go off. Okay. If you remove this plus GM point, your point layer will go off. Okay, so this is a beauty that you have basically with your elements and grammar of visualization, that you can always create these different layers and you can basically always keep building on top of it. Cool. So this is again the very pretty basic stuff. Let's try and do some more. MPG package is not available in 4.0.1. Okay, I think Gautam, but you kind of ran it before, isn't it? It should be available. I think you can download that package. Just see which library has that package of MPG. You can download that package also. Okay, because there are various libraries in R which has this MPG as a data set. You can download that data set. Okay, or maybe you can just download your MPG as a data set and then you can import it into R and then you can just keep performing the same thing which you are doing. Okay, you can just just Google how to download MPG for R. Once you download that data, you can easily do it. Is that clear? Cool. Yes, sir, Rohan. So that's the inference, okay? Because yeah, when you have the data points, you won't be able to understand it. But in terms of now, you can easily make an inference here, okay? You can easily see as your displacement increases, your efficiency decreases. Perfect. So now let's move to the another thing, another code. Cool. So you understood it now. But so I'm not giving you these exercises, okay? But I will definitely ask you guys to do something around it later on. Hmm? But now let's talk about aesthetics, okay? So let me just give you a walkthrough. Suddenly you see there's some blue color dots, okay? Okay, so how these some red color dots, how these red colors are coming here, okay? So there are different kind of shapes also. Okay, right now what you're doing is basically there everything is being circled, okay, but you can change these circles to something else also based on the shape. Okay, so now let's try and do we have a class. Okay, so we what data we have. When we look at this, you have your displacement, okay, you have your mileage, and then you have basically different classes. So let's try and analyze it by classes, because it might happen that this behavior would be different, would come different from for different classes. Okay, so to do that, what you need to do is you just need to add one more property to your mapping. Okay, and this is very important. Just try and understand the difference here. So there are two ways you can add this another feature. Okay, this feature is there in aesthetics. We talked about this feature in aesthetics. This feature is there in aesthetics. If you map it to your aesthetics only, then you will have something like this. Okay, where for each class you will have those different data points. Okay, so let's try and do two experiments. Okay, if you're using Jupyter Notebook, just paste the code exactly like this. Okay, now you can see basically you're having this. And what I can do is I will be putting a bracket here. Okay, and I will be running it like this. Just a minute. Just a minute. Should be good. Yeah, I can just say color equal to blue. Cool. So what you can see now is basically in this particular case, you're assigning an attribute called class. So class is a variable, and based on the different type of class, you want basically your dots to have different colors. Okay. So similar thing you can see it here. What else I can also show you? Let's say if you again, so if you don't want to put your start and end bracket and you want to put your code like this, which is very much readable, then you just need to add this backslash after plus. Okay, this is the difference. If you want to line your whole code into one line, then you have to have these parentheses at the start and end. Okay, I'm going to say smooth. Okay, and let me just copy this whole thing again. So what do you see now? So within the same graph, you're also able to plot the lines. Okay, now you will be in better position to take more inferences from here. Okay, so this is the beauty of your layers. This is what you can do in your graphs, and you can easily get a lot of good inferences from here. Okay, any thoughts? Let me just paste this code also here. Can you guys just run this another code and let me know if it's working for you?
Sir, I have some
Okay.
questions regarding this graph that you have plotted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
Milan, ask me.
so we never, whenever I use this aesthetics command for geom point, I never used mapping equal to aesthetics. I just used to write aesthetics and then bracket. And so, do we need to assign aesthetics equal to mapping? And second thing is, I please repeat the why are we using the backslash thing?
Okay, okay. I think it's always good to learn while doing, Milan. So I think there are two ways. So right now we're using this plotline library. Okay. The thing is, it works in on exactly same syntax the way it is being used in R. Okay. There's no change. You can exactly use the same thing, except the one thing is whenever you're using it in Python, you also need to have everything into a parentheses. Okay. So if I'm not adding these backslashes, okay, now I want to run this code without backslashes, then it should be within parentheses. Okay, so now you'll see I am getting some output, same output. Okay, but let's say if I don't use parentheses and backslash after plus, and if I run my code, what will I get? Error. Correct? So this is why if I need to tell code that this whole thing is one, there are two ways. Either you add parentheses at the start and end, then you will be able to run. Okay, this is the only difference that you will have basically from R and Python code. If you don't want to add parentheses, okay, because what happens is that with parentheses at times your code is not that much readable. You just add basically these things and you basically do some indentation here. Okay, just for some better reading of your code. So this is the way you then can run your code. Okay, so this is basically the answer to your later question. The first question basically why you are putting this mapping equal to. So I think let's try if you're able to run it with this. Okay, and for now, what I'm doing is I'm just doing. Okay, so let's try and run. You got that same chart. Okay, so thing is it's you can at least you cannot have the mapping equal to part and still you can have that same code being run. Okay, but just to be on more sure part basically, because then someone is reading and if your code gets complicated, it's good practice to use all these basically attributes also into code. But if you think that if you're just doing some quick and dirty things, it's okay that if you don't use a mapping AES part and you just write your code in the basic way. Cool. So I hope you guys are with me. Everything has kind of plotted something similar to this, correct? Cool, guys. So let's move forward. Now let's say, so what we have done is basically we have used the color blue. Okay, so you understand the difference. Here we are able to map class to aesthetics, and based on that, all the colors were getting different. But here, let's say if you want just all the colors to be different, I'm not mapping my color attribute to the aesthetics. Okay, and whatever random color I can give. Okay, red. Okay, now you will see all these dots coming into red. Okay, so this is how you can change it. So you have understood basically the two important things. Now let's move forward. The another important thing is basically you can also do it by different. Okay, so what happens is now let's say you want the size of these circles to be based on your some continuous variable. Okay, something continuous, or maybe you want basically let's say it to be differentiated by different categories. Okay, so there can be two aspects. So one is you can use size as a class, and in that case you will again see all these classes are coming here, okay, with different sizes. And if you can use shape, okay, so let's try and use shape here. Let's try and use all different attributes. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so what do you see? Now each one of has got some different shape. So instead of all of them having just one color, all of them has making different shapes. If I also add, let's say, color here, what will I get? Okay, now all of these are of different colors. And let's say if I also add size here, okay, so they all are of different sizes, correct? So this is the beauty. Again, like this is not the beauty right now in the graph, but thing is you can use all these attributes of aesthetics to change your graph. Hmm? So I think you have understood the very basics of these two things. Let's again try and plot something similar using Plotly Express. Okay. So I think I also have one Plotly Express graph, because this is again quite amazing at times when you're trying to use the Plotly Express. Plotly Express, I have one link open, just a minute. Yeah. So let's try and put something demos. Something so for Plotly Express, I think you guys need to again install Plotly. Okay. So please try this command, install Plotly also at your site. Let me know once you install Plotly also. Because Plotly has this subpart which is known as Plotly Express. Pip3 install Plotly, invalid syntax. How come you are getting invalid syntax? For others, it's done. Can you just Google Milan, install Plotly? Just Google it out, okay? So if you guys install Plotly and then let's try and okay, okay. If you're using Jupyter and basically Google Colab, you have to have this at the start, parentheses at the start. Cool. So now let's try and try importing Plotly Express. Okay. So you're talking about the Plotly Express. So what happened is Plotly guys, they came up with this brilliant library of Plotly, which has like amazing functionalities. But after that, what happened is obviously with the popularity of ggplot2 and basically the foundation, the fundamental, like people were still preferring R. So that's when basically these guys created this another library with the name Plotly Express, and it became very simple for them. Okay, so this you can say something again another evolution in terms of the whole thing in Python to give it another level of boost. So when you do this import Plotly, okay, the next thing is let's have our data. We already have MPG as data. So what you need to do is okay, and I will be so here we don't put that much into aesthetics, but I will be just copying this thing. Let's say till this part. Brilliant. So you now have same graph here. Okay, so I pasted this code. You guys can just use it. So what you're seeing here is there are two kinds of graph. Okay, so what is the difference? Like why I'm showing it this another graph and you already have kind of created something similar. Let me just make it this a bit beautiful. And let me just delete this. Yeah. So now both the graphs you are able to see in front of you. Okay. But the beauty of at times working with Plotly graphs is you can actually zoom in, zoom out quite easily. So let's say if you really want to see what's happening in this particular region. Okay. So in this particular case, you won't be able to do it just using your normal Plot9. But if you're using your Plotly Express, what you can do is you can see there are a lot of different options here. Okay. So what I can do is I can just click on this. I can select this particular portion and boom, this is the magic. Okay, and now I'm only seeing that particular area, so it brings more interactivity to a user. Okay, I can just again select more and now I'm only seeing this. I can select auto scale. There are a lot of other stuff. You can download this as a PNG. Okay, so a lot of things you can do it. You can compare data. Okay, if there are 2 3 data points, you can always compare it. Correct. If I just click on this, I can just see hovering. Okay, there's so many things you can do on this. I can reset axis. Okay, so did you guys try this? Cool, done. Cool. So I hope you would have liked this particular thing. But in terms of syntax, you again find it quite similar. Okay, you have data, you have x and y, and color. Here the thing is, it doesn't talk a lot about your aesthetics, your geometry points, and all. But obviously, the scatter point is talking about the geometry right at the front. So that's where basically you see a quite close comparison of two different libraries coming from basically again on similar concepts, similar fundamentals. So there are two different libraries, but again, the output looks quite different, even though the usability is quite same, the interactability is quite different again. So this is very important, okay? Because at times you have to take a call like which library you want to use, but this is how you can do it. Cool. And so now let's move on. So let's move back to our basic stuff on the Plot9. So we have covered this. Okay. So also when you talk about shape, all these shape has these different numbers. Okay. So whenever you're kind of using shape equal to that number, I think you will be getting that. Okay. So I will be sharing this link with you guys. I really want you guys to practice it because this 2 hours is not sufficient time to go through this whole article. But again, this is going to help you a lot. And if you kind of do this, I'm thinking you're going to get a lot of confidence in terms of plotting these graphs. I'm sure like you guys would be using Matplotlib and Seaborn, but I don't find the libraries that efficient and good in comparison to the Plot9 and the Plotly. Okay, and the kind of interactivity that you get from the Plotly is nowhere close to any other library. Okay, this is where I will really ask you guys if you're kind of working with any of the data analysis. It just takes very like a small effort, but if you kind of do it, it's going to help you in changing basically your whole output with like much better quality. Cool. So now let's talk about faucets a bit. Okay, so I will be sharing this code again. So let me just paste this code here. Okay, so can you guys just run this code and let me know what are you getting? Have you guys got this graph which I have got? Correct. So can someone tell me what is the meaning of faucet wrap and row equal to 2? Can someone tell me? Sure. I think just try and understand the concept. So what you're doing is you're just adding another layer on top of what you already have. Okay, and this time basically you want all these as different graphs. So earlier on you have all these into one same graph, but what you want now is basically for all of these class you want different graphs. Did you remember when you were trying to do it in Excel, we had to do it that exercise twice? But here, just with just one additional line of code, you're able to do that magic in very quick way. Okay, so this is the point. If you want to have again color, okay, you can actually have these with different colors also. You can just say color red, blue. Okay, you can easily do that also. But just one single code. So can someone tell me what is the meaning of n row equal to 2 here? So whenever you have basically only one class, okay, you use face faucet wrap. Okay, faucet wrap. It is being spelled as faucet. So whenever you have only one class, you use faucet wrap. If you, let's say you want two classes, okay, then you use faucet grid. So this is the difference. So can you guys tell me what is the meaning of Android 2? Can anyone want to tell? Can anyone tell me that? Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the final output you want it to be in two rows. Okay. So this is what you're describing here. So you understand basically what you have done is you're on top of your basic plot, you added another layer. Okay. It's very simple. Okay. Now let's try and do one more complicated thing. Please run this code. So what is the difference between the earlier code and this? Can someone tell me? What is the difference between this and the earlier code? Can someone tell me? Spot the difference? Correct. So when you have to use faucet grid and when you have to use faucet wrap? When you have only one variable, you have to use faucet wrap. And when you want it by two different variables, you have to use faucet grid. Okay, understood? And how you represent these two variables? Basically, it's DRV versus CYL. Okay, this is what the difference is. Okay, can someone try this code and tell me that what is the difference? So instead of uh, the additional layer that we have on the faucet grid, can you try this another layer? So just remove that and add this another layer and see, tell me what you are getting. Can you tell me what is the difference? Do you guys see any difference?
Sir, please explain the difference between the two graphs where we didn't had like the facet grid, faucet grid, and wrap. Uh, I didn't basically got the interpretation.
Okay. Okay, sure. I think let's try and let's try and do a couple of more options. Okay. I'm going to be putting it here. Okay, cool. So can you tell me difference between this graph and this graph? Can was it Milan? Milan, can you tell me difference between this and this?
So the vertical bars have like the vertical faucets have become horizontal in this case.
Correct. Perfect. So what's happening here is basically what you're saying is that you want basically all the data points. Okay, this is basically all the data points, but you just want them to be grouped by with different cylinders. Okay, so what is 4, 5, 6, 8? So if you see the different unique values of cylinder, they are being these 4, 5, 6, and 8. Okay, so you want basically on the, so you can just think of on the left hand side it's always the rows and right hand side is always the column. So you want all the rows, but they should be split by these columns. Okay, but let's say if I plot something like this, what does it mean? You want all the columns, but they should be split by row based on the cylinders. Correct, so they are being split by rows now. Okay, so you're seeing in this particular chart you're splitting your which axis? X-axis. Correct, your displacement, your okay, but if you see this, which axis you are splitting here? Your y-axis. Correct, this thing you are splitting it up here. Correct, so this is a difference. So this thing is continuous. Okay, cool. So that's brilliant. So now you know the difference, and basically when you put both, you have something like this. Okay, this regular grid. But you can just see like this with the help of code how easy it is basically to kind of create these charts. Okay, and this is basically the beauty of this whole thing. I think majorly you guys will be using, like if you guys understand like the whole this is basic. I would say the first three layers are very basic, but if you're able to understand the data, the aesthetics, the geometric, I think then that's superb, because this is what basically is actually required. So any thoughts on this, guys, till now?
So sir, basically it means that we are doing a scatter plot, and cylinder being a categorical variable, it is splitting as per the different values of the categorical variable.
Correct. So basically cylinder is one categorical variable, and if you see the what was drv was here. um, what was the explanation for drv? DRV was your front wheel types. Okay, which wheel type it is? Basically, it's front wheel, rear wheel, or basically four-wheel drive. Correct. So there's a drive wheel type. That's one thing. So there are two categorical variable. If you kind of put both of them together, so you have to just include tilde in between. I think similar way you kind of run your linear regression also. Okay, you have to use tilde in between. So this is how basically it's showing. And the moment you put it in the grid, you are splitting it up. But here in this particular case, if you see, you're saying that don't split your x, just split your y. Correct, so this is what you're doing, and here it's the opposite way.
Yes, I got that
Cool,
thing. Thank you.
cool. So any questions till now, guys? Any questions? No. Okay, so I think we have another 5-10 minutes. I think it's gonna take much longer time, but what I can do is maybe I can let me share this whole things, because it's pretty nice article. I want you all guys to go through it. Okay, so I think let's try and just quickly go through it. So I think we have already kind of covered it. You can just try these different ways and see what kind of differences you see. After this, let's talk about geometric object. I think we already kind of did it using smooth. The moment you kind of change your geometric point to geometric smooth, okay, you kind of start seeing this line. Okay, and can you guys tell me what is this other line, this gray line? What is this gray line that's coming here? Can you tell me that? What is this gray line that's surrounding this dark black line? Error. Correct. Yeah, it's a confidence interval. Correct. It's a confidence interval, and basically that's average. Basically, it's talking about. It's not error. Yeah, it's gonna help you deriving the error, but that's actually talking you the confidence interval. But you can see how easily you can create it. Okay. After this, so I'm not. I think maybe you can just same thing. You know, same thing. Actually, you also know that that if you put line type DRV, okay, this is very important. If you basically for all these different points, you want different lines now. Okay, the another way of doing it is basically put line type as basically for that particular variable into aesthetics. Okay, so just try this. I'm copying pasting this thing here. You guys can try this also. I think I'm really finishing in another 2-3 minutes, guys. Okay, so if you guys are able to get this, that's good. Okay, and basically if you guys are putting this as an extra additional layer, you can get to know that another part. Okay, you can also has faucets here. You can also show legends. Okay, so there are a lot of things that's gonna be done. So I think let me just share this whole article with you guys. It's pretty brilliant. So if you guys can just go through this article, okay, I think if you see how much you're able to do, okay, we are only able to do 25% till now. Okay, but thing is, like, if you're good with the concepts, which I talked earlier on, if you just kind of remember those 7 layers and like the elements that comes under each of one of them, it's gonna help you guys, each one of you guys, basically to create these awesome charts. The another important thing is then once you kind of practice some of these things, the another important thing I would really actually want you guys to go through is then basically you can try and use Plotly. So some of these things you can try yourself, okay, and like unless you kind of try yourself, you won't be learning also. That's what it is. You can try it yourself and then see basically how it's going to be done. uh, if you have more questions, please just reach out to me on my basically I have my one profile with the Ivy. You can just reach out to me through that. Okay, but I think let me take a break and stop here then. Okay, and let me know if you guys have any questions, any challenges that you have faced. I think let's just spend another 3-4 minutes on that, and then it's end of session.